John Denver, the voice behind Take Me Home, Country Roads, the man whose music painted vivid landscapes of mountains, rivers, and the simple joys of life. To the world, he was a beacon of optimism, a singer whose melodies carried warmth and hope. Yet, behind the curtain of his fame lay a story far more complicated, one of sudden tragedy, hidden turmoil, and a fortune that became the center of a painful, years-long battle. It was a clear, bright October day in 1997. Denver, an experienced pilot and a man deeply in love with the skies, took off in his experimental aircraft, soaring over the calm waters of Monterey Bay, California. But without warning, his plane nosedived into the Pacific Ocean in an instant. At just 53 years old, the world lost a musical legend. Fans reeled from the shock, but for his family, the heartbreak of his death was only the beginning. In the days after the crash, as tributes poured in, a hidden truth emerged. John Denver had left behind a fortune of $19 million, amassed over decades of hit songs, concerts, and television appearances. It was the kind of wealth that should have secured his family's future. But there was one devastating oversight. John Denver had no will. That single missing document would set off a legal and financial storm that would last 6 years, leaving his loved ones trapped in grief and uncertainty. The investigation into his crash revealed a tragic chain of events. Denver had been flying along a Z, an experimental aircraft designed by aviation pioneer Burt Rutan. In Rutan's original design, the fuel selector valve sat conveniently on the front panel, but in Denver's plane, the builder had moved it behind the pilot's left shoulder. Awkward to reach and stiff to operate, it required the pilot to twist and stretch mid-flight. On that day, Denver's right fuel tank ran dry. As he reached back to switch to the other tank, his foot pressed down on the right rudder pedal, causing the plane to veer sharply. At just a few hundred feet above the water, there was no chance to recover, but if the crash was sudden, the aftermath was slow and relentless. Without a will, Denver's estate entered probate, the drawn-out legal process where a court decides how to distribute a person's assets. For his $19 million estate, this meant 6 years of court dates, legal fees, and emotional strain. The IRS added to the tension, insisting his estate had been undervalued by $2.5 million and demanding $1.5 million more in taxes. After years of disputes, the family eventually received a $600,000 refund when the IRS admitted to overestimating asset values. Still, the damage, financial and emotional, was done. Under California law, Denver's children Zachary, Anna Kate, and Jesse Bell were the legal heirs. His first wife, Annie Martell, was tasked with managing the estate, dividing it equally among them. For his youngest, Jesse Bell, just 8 years old, her share was placed in a trust to protect it. Denver had, during his life, set up trusts worth $7 million each for his parents, Annie, and his children, but there was a conspicuous absence: no trust for his second ex-wife, Cassandra Delaney, the result of their bitter and public divorce. Denver's journey to such fortune had humble beginnings. Born Henry John Deutschendorf Jr. in 1943 in Roswell, New Mexico, he grew up the son of an Air Force colonel, moving frequently and developing a love for the outdoors. At age, a vintage Gibson guitar from his grandmother sparked a passion for music. By the mid-1960s, he had adopted the stage name John Denver and joined the Chad Mitchell Trio, writing the song "Leaving on a Jet Plane," later made famous by Peter, Paul, and Mary. The 1970s saw Denver rise to become America's best-selling recording artist with crossover hits in folk, pop, and country. He sold over 33 million records, earned gold and platinum albums, starred in films, won an Emmy, and built a luxurious Aspen estate. Yet, behind the scenes, his personal life was turbulent. His marriage to Cassandra Delaney was marred by accusations of bullying, threats, and jealousy. Legal battles over custody of their daughter drained millions. From his first marriage, darker moments emerged, like the time he nearly choked Annie Martell and cut their bed in half with a chainsaw during a dispute. The tenderness of Annie's song, written during a moment of reconciliation, stood in stark contrast to these private struggles, and then came the ultimate irony. Denver, a passionate environmentalist, had purchased land in Colorado with the dream of preserving it as a wildlife sanctuary, but without a will stating that wish. The property was sold after his death, an outcome completely opposite to his intentions. His story mirrors other famous cases: Barry White, Sonny Bono, and Stieg Larsson, among them, where the absence of a will caused chaos and heartbreak. In Denver's case, the fortune meant to support his family became a source of prolonged suffering. In the end, John Denver's unwritten legacy is not just the music that still plays on radios today. It's a cautionary tale, a reminder that even the most beautiful life can leave behind years of turmoil if not planned for. One piece of paper could have spared his loved ones 6 years of legal warfare, financial strain, and lost dreams. Instead, his estate became as turbulent as the skies he loved to fly, a storm that lingered long after his final flight.